Hey guys, we're back with the DR200SE / Suzuki Trojan egg bike. Thought I'd quickly do a valve check. Not sure it's been done before. It is a little bit hard to start, so I thought I'd check out the valves. Now these are always a bit of a pain to change. Extracted from the service manual. So the actual intake and exhaust clearances are both the same, 0.08, 0.13 mil. Normally try and set them in the middle or toward the looser end, perhaps, as normally that they do tighten up. If you set them to 0.08 and they get tighter, then you'll have more problems. Always a bit painful, but fairly straightforward process. You need to find top dead center. It walks you through how to do that. Basically, you take off a couple of caps, and I'll show you what they are. Remove the top dead center with the socket wrench, and basically use little feeler gauges to get the right amount. Now it is a bit tricky, and I'll walk you through it, but yeah, this bike's a bit more, access is not great. Anyway, so let's go through it. So but we want to remove this top cover here, this side cover here, the two valve covers at the top, and they're basically just these with an O-ring on them. O-rings are normally in good nick, so clean it up and just leave them. Remove the spark plug, and I'll show you why that is. But basically, yeah, once you've done all that, chuck a socket wrench down here, and always turn this in the way that the wheels move, so around, until you get the top dead center. So you can see on the top cover here, there's an arrow, and as you find top dead center, hopefully this will show up. You can see that line inside there. That's what you want to show. So you got to keep turning until that turns up, but you need to be on the actual compression stroke. Now, easy way to do that on these bikes is you can see through the spark plug hole the piston, and also there should be a little bit of play on each of these, so they'll actually move slightly. A bit hard to show from this angle, but they can slightly move up and down, whereas on the other stroke they'll be just hard set. You won't be able to actually move them. So once you have that set, a bit hard to see. Just filming with a phone because it's a little bit tricky with access. Yeah, that's a better angle. Once you have that set there, you can go over. And as I said, you should be able to see the pistons right there. So normally the piston is not there, but because we're on the compression stroke, you can either get like a bit of what sort of bamboo skewer, wooden skewer, or you just poke something in there that's not going to fall in, and you can just feel the piston up the top. Easy way to do it. Now again, these are painful, so I'm using a 0.10 mil gauge, which I've bent. These are very thin. You can get ones that are, I suppose, made for the bike, and they're preset at a good angle. I used to have an XR400, and I got some of those for that bike, and that made it very, very easy to do the valves. Plus, there was more actual access on that bike. Here, this left side is actually quite easy to get to. There's a brim here. The other side, you've got the frame in the way, so a little bit more tricky. But basically, as you can see there, you've got a lock nut, and you've got a flathead top of the bolt, I suppose, at the top. Now that flathead screwdriver bit, that's where you actually adjust it up and down. The lock nut, which I think is an 8 or 10 mil, that actually just locks it in. So it's fairly simple. You just want to make sure that you can just slightly drag. Obviously don't drop your gauge in, but you can just slightly drag this under under there, and it just basically just slides in and out, doesn't get caught, but does need to sort of drag against it. Bit hard to show on the phone, but I'll link an actual picture in the description where it'll show the actual physical layout of these and how it looks and where that little gap should be, which is pretty much below the nut and a bit about middle way, and that's where the adjustment actually happens. So you can see here that's in there, and that just sort of slides in with a bit of drag. You don't want to, if it obviously won't fit in, it's too tight. If it just is quite loose, it's too loose, it just fits through. So you just sort of bend these to suit. Obviously not ideal because you don't get the right angle perfectly, but yeah. So basically do that, tighten them up. A bit tricky with these ones. I've seen there's a tool that you can buy which has a sort of socket, sort of I suppose a wrench with a Phillips, flathead on the top, and it actually it's like an all-in-one tool which you can use for these. Because as you'll find, as you're trying to tighten these up, they'll either become more tighter because it's quite tricky. So you'll have a flathead screwdriver plus a socket, and you want to really, keep a good grip on the flathead screwdriver because as you tighten them, it's got a tendency to actually tighten further. But all you really need to do is do it. Do another check with your gauge, feeler gauge. If it's too tight, then just repeat the process until you get it right, but trial and error. So it is a bit painful, but with a bit of patience and just trial and error, you'll get there. So don't forget, pop the spark plug, pop the two caps, there's two inspection ports, and pretty much that is it. Do a test afterwards, see how you go. Quite straightforward, and you can always readjust them if needed. What you don't want to be doing is dropping anything down here, because then you'll have to take off the top and try and fish out whatever you've dropped, which won't be great. So this is the feeler gauge set that I have. It's it's a non-branded one. I don't know where I got this from, Amazon, eBay perhaps, but it's got a huge amount of different thickness gauges, and they're all quite decent. Like I said, I would probably prefer that you get a fixed one. A lot of bikes actually have the same. So I suppose these old dumpers have the same valve clearance. I'm pretty sure the XR400 had a very similar one. So you might be able to find they can be reused between a few bikes, but they're not cheap. I mean, that complete set was maybe $10, whereas the individual ones might be 20 or more just for that one. If you were to buy them for several bikes, then it adds up. But yeah, so they're set to about midpoint. I'll put this back together and give it a bit of a test. But yeah, a bit tricky with access on that front one. It's a good chance also just to look over the top, make sure there's nothing untoward in there. Definitely do lube up the O-rings as you put things back together. Just put a bit of oil on them. You can replace them with new O-rings if they're leaking, and that sometimes they do leak. You do find a bit of oil under here. You can buy them from the dealer or wherever. Pretty straightforward. I did have to just relocate the horn, which was hanging here on the other side, which goes here. But yeah, straightforward, nice and easy. I was doing a bit of a tune-up on this bike. We've just done the oil recently, oil and oil filter, check the air filter and the spark plug, and now we're doing the valves. And post that, I might need to do a carb clean on the carb because it is a bit hard to start when it's cold. I did just quickly clean out the pilot jet, so easy for these bikes. You can just tighten up the boots, swivel this to the side, and you get access to the underside of the bowl, and you can remove the main jet and the pilot jet. But that's about it. You can remove the float and so forth if you need to, but it's in pretty good clean condition. So to clean out the pilot jet, see if that makes a difference, else I'll pull that apart and see what else I can do. We do need to replace the battery as well at some point, else it's in pretty good condition. that's about it. Any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.